Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Growing up, religion had no place in my life. As the only family of colour in a small town in the southeast of England, my sweet mother just wanted us to fit in, which meant that my sister and I grew up with the same experiences and aspirations as all our peers, and God definitely did not come into the picture. So the first time I met people who used a sacred text to advise them in life was at university. They were some Jewish friends who were looking at the Torah, and the thing that blew me away was that they were reading it in Hebrew, that a person could make out these ancient writings and make sense of them was completely outside my reference point. Even though I knew that my book was the Qur'an, I had never read it in English, let alone in Arabic. But meeting people of faith at university sparked my interest in the deep-seated belief in God that even my non-religious upbringing didn't erase. So I went on a journey of discovery, reading about different religions in the hope I would find the one that was, to my mind, the absolute truth that I could live by. So Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism were all teachings that I explored, but ultimately rejected, as within each were points that my logical reasoning could not accept. It was when I then finally read about Islam, for the first time reading an English translation of the Qur'an, that I felt my search had led to a truth so clear that it was almost like I felt I was coming home, as if I had truly found the real me. So this was the beginning of my connection with the Qur'an. My discovery that the Qur'an, unlike other sacred texts I had experience of, was the very words, the very speech of Allah, my Creator, and the Creator of everything in existence. That was both reassuring and daunting at the same time. Reassuring, as this meant that by reading the Qur'an, I would truly have a way of understanding the absolute truth by which I could live. But at the same time daunting, because it wasn't the English translation that I was reading that was the unaltered words of Allah, it was the original Arabic. And that, I thought, was never going to be something that was an option for me, because having seen it, it really just looked like a whole load of squiggles on a page. So that was that, I thought. I would read the English translation and listen to Qur'an being recited in Arabic, but never be someone who could recite it myself. Or so I thought. I hadn't allowed for the fact that Allah knows all that our heart desires, and that He will always help us when we want to do good for His sake. Because I really did want to read Allah's words. And so, to cut a long story slightly shorter, Allah allowed me to meet people that encouraged me and teachers who saw how keen I was to learn. And slowly but surely I learned to read the Qur'an in its original beautiful words. And this for me was my own personal key to connecting with the Qur'an. Having had a very strong connection with music and singing, to the extent that I had taken professional singing lessons, to recite the Qur'an with its beautiful melody captivated my heart. And of course, Qur'an is not just something beautiful to recite. The words are beautiful and perfect, but without understanding them in your own language, they will never be the all-encompassing guide for life that they are meant to be. So I studied with whoever I could find to teach me, and over the years I went from being student to teaching Qur'an, something that is absolutely my favorite thing to do. But this was my entry point to the Qur'an, and I think that is something important that I've learned over time, that for everyone there is an entry point or a handle with which they can hold onto the Qur'an. For some, it may be the recitation, or for some, the study of Arabic. And in my experience, no one way is the right way to initially attach yourself to Allah's words. I say initially because even in my case, Alongside learning the tilawa, the recitation of Qur'an, I read and listened to commentaries and explanations of Allah's words, and my appreciation for the beauty and the undoubted truth of this last of all revelations just kept on growing. So for anyone who feels downhearted, thinking that everyone else must just have an immediate and unbreakable connection to the Qur'an, don't worry. If you really want something as priceless as the Qur'an in your life, then no doubt it does take effort. You can't expect Allah to just hand you that connection without you playing your part too. That includes making heartfelt, sincere dua, because as we know, nothing is easy unless Allah makes it easy. And He will facilitate it for you, perhaps even in a way that you had never anticipated. Another thing that might sound obvious is that my connection with the Qur'an was better when my iman, my faith, was better. So simple things like getting a good night's sleep so that I wasn't too tired to read my Qur'an, or being with people to whom reading, reflecting and studying Allah's words was an important part of their routine, made a massive difference to my enthusiasm. And I found out the hard way that if you leave the Qur'an, then the Qur'an leaves you. And not only that, but when I stopped making any efforts to connect with the Qur'an, then rather than using that so-called free time up for other things, I actually became less productive in other areas of my life, and it resulted in feelings of self-dissatisfaction. And the reality is that Allah doesn't need anything from any of us, but rather we are the ones who are in need of Him, and the constant connection we make with His words, His guidance, is truly food for our souls, a connection without which our soul withers and our life feels empty. The month of Ramadan is the month of the Qur'an, and it's just around the corner. If for any reason you haven't managed to connect with these perfect words before, then this truly is the time to make it your focus, to make it your goal. Pick it up and read it in whatever language you can. Read even one verse, one ayah a day until you get into a habit, and then build on that. There are so many ways you can help yourself. Maybe download an app or buddy up with a friend so that you don't feel like you're walking this path alone. I remember one of my teachers telling me that I should keep a copy of the Qur'an in as many places in the house that I could, because if I was downstairs, Shaitan could use my laziness to dissuade me from reading by whispering to me that it was just too difficult when my mushaf, my copy of the Qur'an, was upstairs. If you feel, like I did, that the Arabic is a closed door to you, ask Allah to facilitate it, and then search for a teacher or a class that can get you started. Or maybe you can read Qur'an in Arabic, albeit slowly. Don't feel discouraged, because if you read with difficulty, then you actually get twice the reward of someone who can read it fluently. And then again, you might be someone who has been reading Qur'an for many years, but still don't feel a sense of deep connection with it. If that's the case, then it's time to change things up a bit and spread your net wider. Maybe learn the Arabic language so that you can understand the words that you're reading, or join a tafsir class, even online, which could help you to really think deeply and unlock some of the wisdoms in the perfect words of your Creator. Whatever method you choose to help you to connect with the Qur'an will depend on your interests, your situation. And remember, connecting with the Qur'an is not a tick box activity. It's not a race to just whiz through reading the words. Qur'an is Allah's message, Allah's guidance and gift to you. Once you open its covers and absorb its beauty, you'll never want to live without it. So read it, study it, and reflect on it. It will truly be your light on the darkest of days. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك Glory and praise be to you, O Allah. I bear witness that there is no one worthy of worship except you. I beg of you your forgiveness and repent to you. Ameen.